Recently, Ghana signed an anti-LGBTQ bill. I've already talked about it here on this channel, but it has some penalties for participating or even encouraging the lifestyle, even if you're not gay. And this particular bill, while not as harsh as Nigeria's or Uganda's, is still getting people upset. Most notably, the West. And you know what I mean when I say the West. Yeah, Joe Biden's West, the United States of America. But Honorable Samuel George, a politician in Ghana, has been really steadfast in Ghana's ability to be a sovereign nation and to be able to operate with its own values, and the people of Ghana want to operate with those own values. And this is why he has this to say.
The Israeli campaign in Gaza Strip said that it was not the position of the U.S. Department of State to intervene in the local matters of sovereign states. Ghana is not the 51st state of the United States. Ghana is a sovereign state on its own. The sovereign parliament of Ghana has passed a bill, and I think that Matthew Miller should be more interested in the loss of life of Americans' children in American schools to gun violence.
Are they concerned,
He knows where it matters and not where it doesn't matter. They're not invited in Ghana's local politics where our parliament has passed the law.
And when I initially did the video, I got so many people commenting that they were happy that Ghana took this stance. Just look at the comments as they're coming across the screen. But stop the show. You see, there is a penalty if they operate in this behavior. Not so fast, pump the brakes. Rewind. Ghana's finance ministry said, wait a minute, we need to talk about this. If the president, Nana Akufo-Addo, signs this bill, we're in a lot of trouble. And that's where we start, because the bill isn't turned into law because he hasn't signed. Very similar to what happened to Museveni in Uganda. He took a while to sign it, and Nana Akufo hasn't signed it. So it's really not law yet. But once he does sign it, that is when the shit hits the fan. Because Ghana is gonna lose $3.8 billion of funding. What kind of funding? From who? The World Bank. Now, who is the World Bank? Let's go over to the computer and find out.
The International Monetary Fund and the World Bank have been founded, just like the United Nations after World War II. Why? Mainly because after the war, everyone wanted peace. However, peace on an empty stomach is hard to maintain. So these two institutions were meant to help the economic stability of the world. Both of them are basically banks, but instead of being started by individuals like regular banks, they've been started by countries. Most of the world's countries are members of the two institutions, but of course, the richest countries are those who handled most of the financing and ultimately those who have the greatest influence. The IMF and the World Bank were designed to complement each other. The IMF's main goal is helping countries which are currently in trouble and who cannot get money by other means. Perhaps their economy collapsed, perhaps their currency is in danger. The IMF in these cases is kind of like a lender of last resort, who you go to when nobody else is willing to give you money. The World Bank, in comparison, has a more long-term approach. Its main goals revolve around the eradication of poverty, and it funds specific projects which help them reach these goals, especially in poor countries. Unfortunately, the reputation of these institutions has been dwindling, mainly due to practices such as lending to corrupt governments or even dictators and imposing ineffective austerity measures to get their money back. If run properly, however, they definitely could help make the world a better place.
So now that we know who the World Bank is and who operates it, we understand why the World Bank is so important to developing nations like Uganda and Ghana. I'm living in Uganda right now, and the World Bank typically gives out loans at a very inexpensive rate, and also developmental projects, things like roads or airports or schools, those sorts of things. And also certain trade blocks like the AGOA, which Uganda got kicked out of, are also helpful and beneficial to countries that play the game. But Ghana don't want to play the game. Ghana wants to stand up by itself. And they're like, look, if you guys don't like it, get your stuff and get out. Again, this is Sam George iterating those same sentiments in this comment.
Seeing exactly how, Uganda was treated in some measure after they had passed the bill, are there concerns that Ghana might face that same treatment?
Well, Ghana is a proud African nation, first country in the sub-Saharan Africa to gain independence and lead the light for the rest of Africa. I expect the leaders of our country, the president of our country, to stand shoulder high and tell the American people, you either do business with us on our terms or you can walk. American businesses that operate in Ghana are not in Ghana because of LGBTQ. They are in Ghana because they make a profit. If you're an American business working in Ghana, you turn $100 million in profit every year. If you think that because we are protecting our cultural values and saying no to LGBTQ, you want to lose $100 million in profit, pack up and go. Another company will come into Ghana and do business.
So now let's get back to the whole World Bank situation. The World Bank, although most people are members of it, they typically help lower class countries or middle class countries in development. And with you being out of the World Bank typically means you get sanctions, just as Zimbabwe, they've been dealing with those for a long time, and it can do a lot of economic disruption to your country. Now, Ghana has already been suffering with the bad economy for about the last 1 to 2 years, despite all of the cash injection coming in from the diaspora. Let's check it out.
Richard Gbewonyo is a trained videographer, but he's been getting few orders to be filming in the field. He spends a significant amount of time at home. That means less monthly income for the upkeep of his family. High food inflation and the cost of other basic goods have worsened his plight. He says surviving requires juggling finances and skipping meals.
It is just you being smart. So say if you used to spend 100 cedis for lunch, now you must look for a way to spend 40 cedis for lunch. Because what you used to buy for 100 cedis for lunch is now 500 cedis for lunch. So if you used to eat 3 square meals, now you have to do maybe 1 and drink water throughout the day.
Ghanaians haven't seen inflation this high in over 3 decades. Soaring prices are eating into people's purchasing power, and there is no escape from it.
So, with the president knowing the implications and him signing this into law, is it going to happen? Is the president going to do this? I'm going to tell you that yes, he probably will do it. His father was a judge in the original Big Six, one of the country's founders. There's no way this bill can come on his desk and he can't sign it and be respected as a Ghanaian president in the culture. I think if he refuses to sign it, his legacy will be tarnished in the country. But the real question is this: is Ghana ready to stand on its own 2 feet? And are the other countries there willing to stand with them? Let me give you an example of why other countries may or may not stand with them. Let's look at what's happening in ECOWAS. Mali, Burkina Faso, and Chad. Remember these 3 countries? They wanted to stand up for themselves, even against ECOWAS, operate in their own sovereignty. Now in ECOWAS, you're really not supposed to be doing military coups like that. But these countries said, listen, we gotta do it for the sake of our country, and you guys haven't been helping us anyway. So what's happened? Well, Nigeria and a lot of those ECOWAS countries kind of turned their back on the other countries, and they started putting sanctions on them. I believe like Nigeria stopped supplying electricity, other countries trying to get them back in line with their own sanctions, which caused Chad, Mali, and Burkina Faso to leave. So now if Ghana gets sanctioned in ECOWAS, who will also do the same? Would Liberia do that? Would Nigeria do that? And Nigeria has a harsher law, but hey, politics create strange bedfellows. Who in the ECOWAS community or in Africa is going to flip for the side of the West? And that's the thing that we got to look at. Is there going to be unity amongst the people? And if it is, well, maybe their stance can be successful. But if it isn't, it surely will not. And I'm curious as to see if Ghana will eventually bend the knee back to the United States. So far, Uganda has not done so, but that's still a work in progress. Whenever you take their money, you got to take their BS too. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy, Shady Jackson, back at it again with an episode of Fair Use. I'm out.